Hey everybody, we're Workforce Gaming. I'm Doug, along with Brad.
Hello.
And this week we got a code for Superhot for PlayStation VR. I think this is like the third or fourth version of Superhot to come out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so Brad actually got to play this one. The only thing I've played as Superhot was the original browser game before it's the game it was today. So I actually have no idea what this game is like at this point in time, especially the VR. Did you know what Superhot was before you touched this one?
I knew what it was. It's one of those games I was always interested in, but just never got around
Yeah.
to. And then the VR one came out and we got the code and I was like, oh yeah, I'll give this a shot for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess what is Superhot has a really kind of interesting just hook gameplay mechanic. So I don't know, maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah. So in the VR version at least, it's all body tracking. So you use the two moves, your PSVR headset, and you basically are stationary. But any move you make, so if you turn your head to look to your right or left, that sets time forward. So everything's frozen in time. As you move, time moves. So the quicker you move, the more fast paced you are, the quicker the people around you are moving. And it's basically a puzzle version of a first person shooter, I think is the best way to describe it.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Because essentially you're solving the puzzle of what order do I hit these guys in, where are they coming from, and what things can I use. Because I found out very early, if you just grab the gun and just start shooting, you die very, very quickly.
Hmm.
That's not the point of this game, is to shoot everybody. It's very much a sit down and plan your way through it.
Now that sort of game like immediately sounds like a game you would not like and a game I would like.
Which is weird because I had that same thought after finishing it. I was like, this, if I had to describe this to myself, I would look and think of that is sounds so boring. But I think the hook with this is that it's so unique.
Yeah.
I've never seen a game play around with time in this type of way before.
Mm.
There's tons of games where it's like, oh, time freezes, or oh, you're going back and forth through time and all these other things. I'd never seen one where it's connected to your movement. And I think that's what really hooked me, was just this gameplay mechanic of, as I move, it moves. Which I think is a very cool feeling, especially with VR, just because when those missions start, you are standing there still as can be. Like, I'm afraid to move my eyes
I was
back
gonna
and
ask that
forth.
because like as a gameplay mechanic, like when I played like the first person shooter one, it's very different of me like not moving to me is just not hitting a button, but you not moving is
Yeah.
literally not moving.
Yeah, it's like you just stand there. Like, I put my hands in front of me just in case there's like somebody starting, and just like stare straight forward. And then it's like, what can I? Okay, and like slowly tilt your head right, slowly tilt your head left, and the whole time it's like, I hope there's nobody behind me. I hope there's nobody behind me. And as you're going through, it's just like, okay, like, all right, I can slowly put this arm down. That guy, okay, yep, he takes 2 steps forward. Okay, all right, reach for the gun, and you're just like slow. It's one of those things that I feel like would be hilarious to watch somebody play if you had no concept of what they're doing,
Yeah.
because every movement you make is so slow. Like, I mean, it takes you a good 5 or 6 seconds in a couple spots to pick up like a gun off the floor, just because you're like, you make like halfway there, you stop, you check around for a second, you keep going, and it's this really unique feeling. And we talk a lot about how VR really puts you in that sense of doing
Yeah, yeah.
something. And that's one of the first games I felt where my whole body is being used for this. Because if I'm sidestepping, it's tracking that. If I'm moving my arms at all, if I'm tilting my head, everything, it feels like it's being tracked,
Yeah.
to the point where every subtle movement seems like it could be the moment where you're just done.
So as much as I like PSVR, I wouldn't say the tracking is like the best thing.
Yeah. So that, before I get to that, I
Okay,
want to
okay.
preface this
I'm just curious because like
because,
just like for people who don't have PSVR, sitting games, great, perfect, fine,
yes,
great. As
yes,
soon as you stand
yes.
up though, things get a little weird.
Yeah, it gets very hairy very quickly when you're standing up.
So Superhot VR is a game where you move around a lot. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, before we get to that, I do want to say, if the tracking was there, which I know it is on, I think, Oculus, and I don't know if it's on Vive or not, but I know it's there on those, and it's much better.
Yeah.
This is the best VR game I've played.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So
Hmm.
so in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, like, if you're playing this on Oculus, where your tracking is flawless, or probably not flawless, but much better than what I have with my PSVR,
Yeah.
this has got to be incredible. But yeah, the tracking with this gets you into some trouble, and it's still easily the coolest PSVR game I played. Easily still my favorite PSVR game I've
That's
played.
really
But there are some infuriating moments
yeah.
where just the tracking, like, you're reaching for something, and then all of a sudden your hands like on the other, like your hands like 2 feet behind where you think it should be all
Oh
of a
yeah,
sudden
yeah.
because like your camera got all fuzzy or whatever, and then you're like, well shit, now I need to reach 3 times further to grab the same thing,
And then
or
suddenly it snaps
you'll
back if it does track it again. It's like it
yep,
suddenly
and
found
then
it and it snaps back. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yep. So that is the one thing I will say with this game is very limited by the PSVR tech, and it's the first PSVR game I think I've played where I can say I wish this was better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But it's still there.
And
It's still
like,
the best one. That's funny how you put that.
I guess best, maybe not best in terms of if this worked. No, that sounds bad too. It's my favorite.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
that's
You
a
can
better
say
way
it's
to
your
say
favorite.
than
I was just
best.
curious. Yeah,
I think favorite's better than best
yeah.
because best in my mind, yeah, like there's some issues with it that come along with the tracking, but just there are some infuriating moments, and part of this is because it's played in 3 or 4 level chunks. So every single section you go through like 3 or 4 like stages essentially.
Okay.
So for the most part the first one's like super easy. So one I'm thinking of that I had to do 150 times because it was just towards the end of the game is you grab these 2 knives and 2 guys are standing next to you. So you start, you grab your knives, swing out to the side, knock them both down. It goes to the next stage. Okay, you start, and this one you do, something else. You grab your gun, you shoot everybody. There's 3 or 4 stages. So when you get to that 4th stage and a tracking issue happens, it is infuriating because you're like, I just played through these 3 levels. I died on the 4th. I got to go back to 1.
Oh, I didn't realize you had to go back. Now I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
oh,
that's what I'm trying to say. So it's one of those things where it's fine in the game itself, I think, but because of those tracking issues, you end up in a lot of situations where you're like, I can do this. This isn't an issue. I'm dying because of the tech.
Oh, that's. I was actually kind of curious because you do kind of mention like you do have to move slowly and stuff. But have you actually replayed a level where you know exactly what you're doing? Can you do it like really quick, like be like John Wick? Oh, that's
yeah, it's
cool.
kind of cool. And I think the footage I actually put with this video, I was like, I can't do this with me going slow because it just looks stupid. It looks like I have no clue what I'm doing as I'm like, because if you don't understand the game, it looks really weird. But I think at least one of the clips was like, oh yeah, I just beat those 4 levels in like 30 seconds flat. That's share. Let's save that video clip right there.
That's pretty cool.
Because after you've done it a couple times, like, I mean, there's one that I'm thinking of where the first one is like you grab the knife. So it got to the point where it's just like, oh, damn it. Okay. Click. Shoom. All right. Next one. All right. And then it was like shotgun boom. He drops his gun, grab the handgun out of the air, shoot the guy, done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you haven't seen Superhot, that looks and feels as cool as you can imagine. There is nothing better than like taking like a shotgun, shooting a guy, seeing his pistol flap above your head, catching it with your other hand, and then like still aiming. So I mean, it literally, you said John Wick. It feels like you're John Wick in this. There's like one of the trophies is actually that you like did the weird lean back thing to avoid a bullet from the Matrix.
Oh, really?
Like,
that's
and you actually end up doing that crap, which is so cool. And I think that's why it's my favorite, just because it's one of the ones that gives you that feeling that I don't feel like I could get any other way than doing this in VR.
Yeah. Dang, this always sounds cool. I mean, I guess kind of wrap this up. I mean, Superhot is really cool. I don't know if this is even the appropriate conversation, but how do you still feel about VR? Because it's been like we got it about maybe half a year ago now, so I feel like whatever that sort of like immediate like whoa factor of VR is gone. But like I was just curious what your feelings are because I still have mine, and I think mine largely collects dust. But when I put it on, I'm like, this is still pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at too. And I think it really depends on what you're doing. I think in the early stages of having it, everything was awesome.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what it was. You put in that demo disc, and every single thing on that demo disc was the new coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
A little bit of exaggeration there.
No, I would say that was how I felt.
But now I feel like I still, when I put it on, it's like, oh my God, this is awesome. And like you said, I think we both knew going into this isn't a thing I'm going to spend hours a week with. It's that once every couple of weeks, I'm going to bust this out and enjoy myself. I think now I still get that feeling, but it has to be for something good.
Yeah.
So my mind is going to, they did a Spider-Man Homecoming VR experience that I was like, oh, I can be Spider-Man? Like, this is awesome. And you put it on and it's like, oh, I'm okay. Nope. Yeah. And I think it's now become that thing where those little gimmicky things just don't quite have the same impact they did, because it's like, oh, I've already been Batman and that was way cooler than Spider-Man because I could actually do something. So I think to me, I still love it, but I think it's there's a level that things need to reach for me to really buy into it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's that feeling of I'm immersed in this world, I'm immersed in this universe, I'm doing something cool inside of this that is specific to VR. Because even going back to some of the older games, like not necessarily to say these games aren't good, but I feel like I get a different feeling from now. Things like Rez, or even Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, like where it's just you're sitting and you're looking at something.
Yeah.
I think having now played games like Superhot, like some of the other ones that have come out, where there's a little bit more involved to it. They're using things around you more so than just, hey, you've got your guns, look forward.
Oh, okay. No, I got you. I can see that. I feel like I definitely have lost some of that, like sort of like immersive aspect of it, but I still, I think you're right. I think those experiences where it's just like, this is a VR music video. It's like, well, that's not very good. But then I tried to change, like, weirdly, if you have a PSVR, try the Chainsmokers PSVR experience. It's made by Sony Computer Entertainment, like one of the primary studios, and it is way better than Isn't Right Being. But it's like, that was really cool. But there's another music video you can get. It's like some electronic artist, and just like, it just wasn't as good. And like, you can now feel like those things that are, like you're saying, that are inherently just like not good outside of like the presence of VR while you're in VR are currently not good because you've played like really cool stuff. But I agree with you. If like there is something that's really, really cool, like I've been playing Poly BS recently, and that game is just like blowing my freaking mind to the roof. but it's because it's such a unique thing, and there is a clear like high qualityness to it. So like, yeah, like something like Superhot VR, it is nice seeing those things. But I think those like AAA is not the right word. Just like quality level, like those like really high quality games, like they still like
the ones
are pretty.
The ones you could tell you had people who knew what they were doing, who had a goal in mind, who I think really, really understand the VR at this point.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of talked about when this came out, is once people get a hold of this, spend some time experimenting, really understand how to do it, you're going to get these quality experiences. Yeah. And I think we're slowly moving our way towards more and more of these things and getting away from the like, oh yeah, this is just that thing with VR. It's a light gun game in VR. Whereas, no, this is a VR game. It actually brought me back to those early Kinect tech demos that they did where it's like your whole body's the controller. Yeah. And this is really Superhot is probably the first time I've ever actually felt like that. Having played a lot of Kinect, a lot of Wii, a lot of all that stuff, this is the first time where it was really like, okay, no, this is actually me in this.
Yeah. And you're not just an observer. You are an interactor in this thing. Well, I think like you're saying, a lot of them are just kind of like, sit down while this company figures out how to even put somebody in a 3D environment.
We had to figure out how to render the backside of you, so just enjoy what's in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I definitely, yeah. Well, like Superhot VR, it's not just Superhot in VR. It is a game that is designed for VR. Yeah. Cool. No, I'm kind of glad you still like it, because I feel like when I first talked about it, like you bought a VR because I was super excited about it. I was like, I think I don't know if I was the one to push you over because I was so excited about it. But I'm glad you still like it. I do still like it. But it is those games are kind of few and far between. But when they come around, it's like, damn, this shit is cool.
Yeah.
All right, we are Workforce Gaming. If you guys like what you heard, you can subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter @Workforce Gaming. See you guys next week.
See ya.